It was a warm summer morning, and the sun was shining through the windows of our cozy home. I woke up early, feeling a bit groggy from the medication I had been taking for a mild flu. I rubbed my eyes and got out of bed, slowly making my way to the kitchen. As I started preparing breakfast for my husband Tom, I heard him wrestling in the bedroom. "Good morning, honey," I called out. Tom yawned as he walked into the kitchen, still in his pajamas. "Morning, babe. How are you feeling today?" he asked, giving me a kiss on the cheek. "I'm feeling a little better." "The medicine seems to be working," I replied, pouring him a cup of coffee. We sat down at the table and started chatting about our plans for the day. Tom had a busy schedule at work, but we were planning on having dinner together later that night. As we finished our breakfast, I felt a sudden wave of fatigue wash over me. "I think I'll take a nap before I start my day," I said, yawning. "Okay, get some rest. I'll see you later," Tom said as he grabbed his briefcase and headed out the door. Little did I know that normal day would mark the beginning of a long and difficult journey. As the day went on, my symptoms worsened. My body felt heavy and my head was pounding. I decided to drive myself to the nearest hospital and went straight to the emergency room. After several tests and hours of waiting, a doctor finally came in to give me the diagnosis. "I'm sorry to tell you this, but you have leukemia," the doctor said with a sympathetic expression. My heart sank, and tears welled up in my eyes. "What does this mean?" I asked, struggling to comprehend the severity of the news. The doctor explained the details of my condition and the treatment options available, but I was in a daze. I couldn't believe this was happening to me. I called Tom, trying to keep my voice steady. "Tom, I need you to come to the hospital," I said, barely able to hold back my tears. Tom arrived at the hospital quickly, and I could tell he was worried. "What's going on? Are you okay?" he asked, holding my hand. I shook my head and told him the news. His face turned pale, and he hugged me tightly. "We'll get through this together," he said, his voice filled with determination. I clung onto his words, hoping they were true, but little did I know that our marriage was about to be tested in ways I never imagined. Over the next few weeks, I began my chemotherapy treatments. The process was grueling and the side effects were unbearable. I lost my hair, felt nauseous all the time, and was constantly fatigued. Tom did his best to support me, but his busy work schedule made it difficult for him to be there for every appointment. I could sense the strain on our relationship as I became more dependent on him for help. One day, as I sat in the hospital room receiving my treatment, Tom walked in looking stressed. "What's wrong?" I asked, noticing the worry lines on his face. "I got an offer for a new job," he said hesitantly. "That's great news, right?" I replied, trying to put on a brave face. "Well, it's in a different city," he said, avoiding my gaze. I felt a pang of fear in my chest. "What does this mean for us?" I asked, already dreading the answer. "I don't know. It's a great opportunity, but it would mean leaving you here for a while," he said, his voice full of guilt. I tried to be understanding, but I couldn't help feeling hurt. "What about me? What about my treatment?" I asked, my voice rising. "I'll come back every chance I get. I'll make sure you're taken care of," he promised. But as the days turned into weeks, Tom's visits became less frequent. I felt abandoned, and my anger towards him grew with each passing day. Little did he know that his decision to leave me would have consequences he could never have imagined. As Tom's visits became less frequent, I started to feel increasingly isolated. I spent most of my days in the hospital room, feeling weak and alone. One day, as I was scrolling through my social media, I noticed a comment from Tom's coworker, Sarah. It was a harmless comment, but something about it made me suspicious. I dug deeper and found that Sarah had been liking and commenting on all of Tom's posts. I confronted him about it over the phone. "What's going on between you and Sarah?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "Nothing. She's just a coworker. Tom replied, sounding defensive. I don't believe you. Why is she always commenting on your posts and liking everything you do? I asked, my anger building. Tom hesitated for a moment before finally admitting, okay, we've been seeing each other, but it's not what you think. I felt like the world had crumbled beneath me. How could you do this to me? I screamed into the phone. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did, he said, sounding regretful. I hung up the phone, feeling betrayed and devastated. How could he have done this to me when I was at my lowest point? Over the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about Tom and Sarah together. The thought of them laughing and flirting made me sick to my stomach. But as I lay in bed, something inside me snapped. I realized that I didn't have to take this lying down. I would get my revenge no matter what it took. I spent the next few weeks plotting my revenge. I wanted Tom to feel the same pain and betrayal that he had caused me. One day, I received a call from a private investigator I had hired. He had found evidence of Tom's affair and had some shocking news. Mrs. Smith, I have some information that you need to hear, the private investigator said. What is it? I asked, my heart racing. It appears that Sarah is pregnant with Tom's child, he revealed. I felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, and disbelief. How could he do this to me? I whispered to myself. I knew I had to confront Tom about this. I called him and arranged to meet him in person. As we sat across from each other at a coffee shop, I couldn't even bring myself to look at him. I know about the affair, Tom, and I know about the baby, I said, my voice shaking with rage. Tom looked down, unable to meet my gaze. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you, he said, sounding remorseful. Sorry isn't enough. You broke our vows and you shattered our marriage, I said, tears streaming down my face. What can I do to make it right? He asked, sounding desperate. It's too late for that. I want a divorce, I said firmly. Tom looked at me, stunned. Please don't do this. We can work it out, he pleaded. It's too late, Tom. I'm done, I said, getting up from the table. As I walked away, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I was finally free from the pain and betrayal that Tom had caused me, but little did he know that this was just the beginning of his downfall. After my meeting with Tom, I felt a sense of purpose. I knew what I had to do, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get my revenge. I started by hiring a lawyer to handle the divorce proceedings. I made sure to get the best lawyer I could afford, one who would fight tooth and nail for me in court. But that wasn't enough. I wanted Tom to feel the same pain and humiliation that I had felt. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. One day, I reached out to Sarah, Tom's mistress. I told her that I knew about the affair and the baby, and I demanded that she leave Tom alone. At first, Sarah was defensive. I don't have to listen to you. Tom loves me, she said. But I was persistent. You have no idea what you're getting into. Tom is a liar and a cheater. He will never leave his family for you, I warned. Eventually, Sarah broke down and admitted that she was afraid of what Tom might do if he found out that she had told me. That's why you need to leave him. You deserve better than a man who will lie and cheat on his wife, I said, trying to convince her. After that conversation, Sarah disappeared from Tom's life. I later found out that she had moved away and started a new life elsewhere, but that wasn't enough for me. I wanted Tom to feel the full weight of his actions, so I decided to take away the one thing that he loved most, his job. I reached out to his boss and told him about the affair and the baby. I can't have someone like Tom working for me. It's a liability, his boss said. And just like that, Tom lost his job. He was devastated, but I felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that he was finally getting what he deserved. As the divorce proceedings went on, I made sure that Tom was left with nothing. I took everything, the house, the cars, and even the dog. When it was all said and done, Tom was left with nothing but the clothes on his back. As I watched him walk out of my life for good, I felt a sense of triumph. I had taken my revenge and I had come out on top. "You'll regret this," Tom said, his voice shaking with anger. But I just smiled, knowing that he was the one who would be regretting everything he had done. Months had passed since my revenge on Tom. I had moved on with my life and had even started dating again. One day, I received a call from Tom's sister. "I need to talk to you. It's urgent," she said. I met her at a coffee shop, wondering what could be so urgent that she needed to speak to me. "I just wanted to apologize for everything that Tom did to you. I know he was wrong, and he's been struggling ever since the divorce," she said, looking remorseful. I listened as she told me how Tom had hit rock bottom after the divorce. He had lost everything and was struggling to make ends meet. "I just wish there was something we could do to make it right," she said, looking at me with pleading eyes. I thought for a moment before speaking. "There is something you can do. Tom needs to take responsibility for his actions and make things right with the people he hurt," I said firmly. Tom's sister nodded in agreement. "I'll talk to him. Thank you for being so understanding," she said. A few weeks later, I received a letter in the mail from Tom. In it, he apologized for everything he had done and begged for my forgiveness. At first, I was hesitant, but after some time, I realized that forgiveness was the only way for me to truly move on from everything that had happened. I reached out to Tom and agreed to meet with him in person. As we sat across from each other at a coffee shop, I could see the remorse in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Emily. I was a fool, and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm doing everything I can to make things right," he said. I looked at him for a moment before speaking. "I forgive you, Tom, but that doesn't mean we can ever be friends or even acquaintances. You made your choices, and you have to live with the consequences," I said firmly. Tom nodded, looking ashamed. "I understand. Thank you for giving me a second chance," he said. As we said our goodbyes and went our separate ways, I felt a sense of closure. I had finally moved on from everything that had happened, and I had come out stronger on the other side. "I wish you all the best, Tom," I whispered to myself as I walked away.